today. We want to welcome in and thank him for coming in, too, 91st District Delegate Ian Masters. Good morning, Ian. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Good morning. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, obviously, it's a serious subject that we're about to discuss here, Ian, and that has to do with an Instagram post made from your account about a week ago, in which the quote had to deal with Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, but which said he's not white, he's a Jew. We never claim them. That's why he's short, tiny, and weak. I'll start off the program by asking you point blank, Ian, did you make that post? Are those your words?
I did not. And I appreciate the time today. I wanted to start off by first thanking the people that have reached out to me in what has been a particularly trying time of late. The folks who knew me knew better, and I can unequivocally tell you I did not author that comment.
Can you give us some clarity on how that comment was posted from your account?
Certainly. So how this thing unfolded, I got a call from a California phone number asking me, saying they were journalists, asking me for accounts and information, and I wasn't about to hand over any personal information. I didn't know who I was talking to, what was going on. And I was related a description of this video, and had been chided by some people that know me when I had noted that I, at the time, wasn't even certain who Dave Portnoy was. A video between him and some UFC fighter, ostensibly on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and I knew I had no recollection or hadn't seen this video. Following that, I was described this comment, which I could only call bizarre, and wasn't certain even of the validity of the call at that point. It was so unusual. And had later, following that, gotten into that account. It is an account I have. It wasn't frequently used of late, but I got into there and found that there were a lot of discrepancies. There were comments, there were tags of that account into other posts and videos and things I didn't follow. One of them was a mention into the video in question, which I think was an April video, but this tag of sorts was recent. And at that point was just bewildered and not certain as to what had happened. And I was traveling a great deal at that time, and by the time I had gotten home, that article had been published, and following that had been taking steps to figure out exactly what had occurred.
Can you tell us how someone got access to your Instagram account?
So the account was logged in, and I've looked through all this different stuff trying to pinpoint what was happening and rack my brain, and a lot goes through your mind when something like this happens. If there's a spoof account, or if somebody is after you, if somebody's hacked you, all these things kind of go through your mind. But it turned out that the account was logged into several devices, and it determined that one of them was no longer in my possession, and had figured out that that device wasn't in my possession, and sort of I knew where that had been, and then handed that information over at that point.
To whom?
I was talking with folks in House leadership. I'd ultimately provided that information to the majority leader, and
Pat McGeehan,
with the background as to the individual I provided that to some time back, and he had taken it from there to go reach out to the individual and discuss that with him.
Tell us about the individual and how he got your phone and then access to your account.
So this was a person that that I cared about, that I'd known for a while. That had been in a pretty dark place. I didn't realize until hearing yesterday about how dark that had been. But it was a person I had known for a long while and cared about, and was trying to help them out, and provided them an older phone with some money to try to get back on their feet. The phone didn't have any service to it. It was an older phone my kids had messed around with, but it was ostensibly supposed to be to fill out job applications or reach family or whatever. And I'd provided that to this person, and I do care about the person, even in light of this. It's somebody that had been around me during the loss of my brother, somebody who had been very close to my brother at his passing, and an individual I was trying to help.
How did he get access to your Instagram account, password, username, that sort of thing?
So what we had seen was that account, and I hadn't realized this, but that account was still logged in on that device when it was provided, is what appears to have happened, because it doesn't, there would have been no other way to type that in or know that or whatever. So we could see that it was still logged in on that device. That has since, of course, been logged out of, and all the things have been secured at this point in time. But that's what I understand to have happened.
Pat McGeehan yesterday was not willing to identify this person, the name of this person. Are you willing to do that?
I'm not at present. I'm contemplating doing that. What I had heard yesterday was that the individual was in an even worse place than I was aware. I'm not prepared to do that at this point.
There are, yesterday in our comment section, I'm not sure if you were following along when Pat was on yesterday or not, but in our comment section, there are many people very skeptical of the story as Pat laid it out. There's this down on his luck guy that Ian gave a phone to. The guy made a post. We're not going to give you his name, and he's going to die soon. It all sounds too convenient as a cover-up is basically what the theme in our comment section was in some of the calls and texts I got after the show.
I can understand that. That is simply what I understand, what I know, and I don't know if this, and I hope this individual is not that sick. I don't know that.
Yeah. Pat said numerous times yesterday the guy was probably going to die soon. Bill?
Yeah, a couple of points.
First and foremost, one more thing.
Yeah.
Pat kept referring to him as a kid. What's the approximate age of this person?
He is not a kid. He's in and around my age. He was friends with my brother, who is 4 years younger than me.
And how old are you, Ian?
I am 39.
39, all right.
Yeah. Ian, you said that the phone had no service. If it had no service, how could it get into the Instagram account?
Well, it was the reason it had been provided. It was still able to access the internet or
But
use.
that would have service then.
Well, you could use it on Wi-Fi. That was what it was intended, to have it on Wi-Fi to communicate with loved ones or job applications or whatever.
But wouldn't it have to go to your Wi-Fi?
No.
I'm assuming you mean no cell service.
Correct.
No
Correct.
phone number
Yeah,
associated with it any longer,
Okay.
but you could still log in to the internet through the Wi-Fi.
Okay. And I'm not even going to pretend to be a lawyer, and you are one, but what I've heard in times past, when an elected official has been hacked or words are represented falsely, there's been a recourse of action. There's been an investigation. McGeehan yesterday said the investigating started with him and ended with him, and that was enough. I don't buy into that. I don't know McGeehan well enough to think that he is the only qualified person to do an investigation. I think we as folks in your district and folks in West Virginia as a whole deserve to know if there's any validity to this. We would all like to believe you. We'd all like to say on face value, you're a good man, you're an honest man. Everything I've heard about you says you are a good, honest person. I'd like to believe that. But with most folks, there is if not a dark side, there's at least a gray side. And this would be great if we could put this to the end, and a qualified investigative unit, be the FBI, be it Roger Hanshaw, that he pulls somebody together to look at this in more detail and said it's exactly what you say, or there is another element to it. Right now, after yesterday's discussion with Pat McGeehan, I have to be honest. I went into that discussion thinking that I was willing to believe everything you said. I came out of that discussion thinking there's some question marks. So question marks were raised yesterday. Can we, in fact, find a way to put those question marks to rest?
So I have been in discussion with law enforcement. I don't know at present if this circumstance of me leaving a device logged in and a person using that meets that criminal side of things. There's a lot that I'm trying to process and understand here between a lot of the hateful comments I've received and a lot of the privacy intrusions I've received. And again, a care that I do have for this individual, and I'm trying to weigh all of that. I've also been very frustrated by some of the misreporting that has happened and the effort to really swell things beyond the circumstance. Part of that, if I could have time to discuss this profile picture and some of the misreporting that has happened.
Dylan, do you want to put that picture up, if you could, please, so we know what we're talking about here? Yeah, go ahead. This is what you're referring to, Ian,
Yes.
right? These symbols that some say are Nazi symbols.
Yes. So the first thing I'd seen misreported that was very troubling and trying was a report that letter hanging in that image was from my son at Marine Corps boot camp. None of my children are old enough to be in Marine Corps boot camp. That was a letter from my late brother, a particularly sentimental letter that he had sent me. That picture is of a memorial wall that we had for him shortly after his death. And among it are his dog tags, his ashes in a Norse tree of life, his cross, and several other Norse mythology images and runes. His favorite shows were Vikings and Game of Thrones, and we had read a lot of Norse mythology and those type of things. A few of those pendants were his, a couple I bought afterwards. One of them is a European medieval symbol with a wolf there. It's to ward wolves off. There was a song that reminded me of him called "Keep the Wolves Away." That's still a sentimental song. And these things are, it's a sad aspect of our discourse and in the way that everything has been twisted, that this is somehow this Nazi imagery, or that I am this, violent white supremacist Nazi. It's absolutely not the case, and it has been incredibly frustrating and hurtful.
Bill, did you have another question?
No, I did not. Thank you. Well, a comment, I guess. I appreciate the fact that you've been talking to law enforcement. That, I think, is what is a step in the right direction. Hopefully, we'll get a more resolution on it. I know you want better resolution, and I think we as residents of West Virginia would like a better resolution. Without condemning it all, it's just that you're a representative. And you're someone we need to trust, we need to view as fair and objective. And so putting this to bed with a legitimate investigation rather than what I consider to be a colossal attempt to cover up yesterday, which, as I said, I did not think that helped at all. I would love to see an independent investigation.
I understand that,
Yeah.
and there has been no effort by me to cover things up. I've provided information over.
But maybe not you, but the individual representing you yesterday, when he said, in effect, I've investigated, I've decided that everything is clear, the case is closed, nothing else to be looked at. That is not the right message to send.
Understood.
Yeah, Mike Height.
Yeah, I'm going to start off by saying, Ian, my interaction with you only goes back about a year now, since you've been appointed to the legislature, and I've always found you to be a upstanding individual, great legislator to this point, and my interactions with you have always been great. However, I don't know you as long as Pat has known you, so my take on this was not to say that your word is enough for me. And I think many of your constituents and the people of West Virginia sort of feel the same way. We want an explanation, and we want to believe you, and that to know that this didn't come from you. So I'm glad you started off the show saying I unequivocally did not make these comments. I think that goes a long way, and that's what people wanted to hear from the start. I did not make these comments. This is not what I believe. As far as the investigation, and Bill really wants to see an investigation, I, on the other hand, while I would like to see an investigation, I also don't want to see our resources used in a way that are unnecessary. And if this does not rise to the level of a crime, and I think maybe that's what the FBI or the sheriff's department, state police, whatever, would have to determine. Does this rise to the level of a crime? With this individual having access to your phone, you leaving it open, did he actually commit a crime? These are horrid words that he spewed out. If people believe the story that you're laying out, I don't know that it does rise to the level of a crime. So do we want resources used to clear Ian's name, or?
I would say yes, Mike, for one reason only. He's our elected official. He represents us. We want to be, in this day and time, there's so many reasons to cast doubt or to question our elected official, and we need to.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, to what end? If a crime has not been committed, why are we getting the FBI involved, or the state police involved?
Hey, you know what? You two should have this discussion when Ian's left the room. I don't want to. I want to give Ian his time here.
Fair enough. Yes.
So, Ian, from a technical standpoint, is there technical data available that verifies that this person in this location logged on at this time from that device?
I've provided the information that the account was still with that device. We've been looking to get information from Meta as to that. I don't have that at present that I have in my possession. There's an effort to do that. I simply, again, in the midst of this and the bewilderment and shock of it, have taken the steps I could to figure out the anomalies with that account, and it provided that information. So that's.
You also said that this account was logged onto several different devices. Have you cleared it from all devices now? It's been closed.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
So now you're the only one with access to this particular account, and the name has been changed on the account as well, correct?
Yeah, so I had, when you're into that account, when you finally see that this actually has occurred, I did take a step to try to remove past organization I was with, and then to try to figure out what was going on here. It is now logged in solely in devices I have, with a new secure password, a whole different update of security that maybe wasn't there before. I have had ongoing scenarios where I've been receiving sort of prompts and text messages as if there are folks still maybe making efforts to compromise that account. That's another aspect I've been in touch with law enforcement about that scenario. But yes, it is now in the possession. Those devices are all logged off of that.
And then, are there any other accounts other than any other social media platforms that may have your name associated with them, either through you personally or through WVCDL or law firm or whatever? Any other accounts that may have your name associated to it?
My own accounts, or accounts that were in
it could be like a WVCDL account. So somebody has access to an account for WVCDL and they make a comment. Would your name pop up as associated with those? No, okay, so no
I
others.
had never run the WVCDL Instagram or any of that, so no.
Okay. Dylan had some Norse symbol questions. Go ahead, Dylan.
Not necessarily questions, but I do think I can provide some clarification on some of this stuff here. The West Virginia Watch article specifically linked to 3 symbols and their pages on the Anti-Defamation League's site. The first 2, the Valknot and Life Rune, is specified on the ADL site to say that this is continued to be used by non-racists in pagan contexts and things like that. So it does specify in that way that you should look at the context of how these are used. It doesn't make that specification for the third one, the Wolf's Angel, but I will say I did not see that exact symbol in the profile picture. And just one last thing to add, I think some of the reason people are concerned is that there are a lot of academic stuff done in terms of far-right co-opting Norse mythology and symbolism. So I just think that to try to clarify some things and why there's concerns, but also some context to this.
Thank you, Dylan. And that's also reflected in a comment in our Facebook comment section too. Ian, anything else you want to mention about the symbols?
No, again, they are not these hate-filled symbols. They were quite the opposite. They were a tribute to my brother. They were things we both were interested in. They were on that wall with that particular letter. That's the reason for it. And that aspect in particular has been just a painful circumstance where, you know, these things get taken and then they're run with, and you know, the rush to judgment and maligning me in that way has been very hurtful.
Just a few seconds left, Ian. Last chance for you to address this controversy.
So again, we'll state I unequivocally did not make these comments in question. I still, you know, I try to help people everywhere I go, and that is something that people will find out and do know me, know about me. I still have some concern for this individual, maybe more so after hearing yesterday, after the majority leader had spoken with the individual of their well-being and health. And lastly, I know some was spoken about my brother yesterday, and never in my wildest dreams would I be in public speaking about that scenario. I love my brother. Yesterday was his birthday. I suppose in closing, you know, I would just advise people in this weekend and this holiday, which I find is the most important we have other than Christmas and Easter, to spend time with loved ones and don't take it for granted.
Ian, thank you for coming in and answering some questions.
Thank you, sir.
We
Thanks,
appreciate
Ian.
it. We are back with the Friday Five right after these. Delegate Ian Masters.